Okay, hello and good morning everyone. Welcome to JFD Brokers Traders Espresso with me, Darius Munchauskas. Today is the 7th of August 2018. So welcome everyone, welcome to this Tuesday morning session where we're going to have a look at a few instruments I believe are developing quite interestingly. But before we do that, let's quickly have a read through our risk disclaimers. So the content we produce does not constitute investment advice or investment recommendation, should not be considered as such, and does not in any way constitute an invitation to acquire any financial instrument or product. As always, a few seconds for you to read the rest and we can continue. Also, just a very quick reminder of our JFD Brokers website and specifically our JFD research page, which we update on a daily basis. We throw out different trading suggestions and of course different trading analysis, and yep, of course we produce our daily analysis every morning, which currently is getting prepared and which is gonna come out shortly. So yeah, feel free to check us out, and I believe you can find some useful stuff here. But for now, let's have a look at the charts. Now, the first one I want to touch on is the FTSE 100. Now, the FTSE is, let's say, being a bit weird here right now. So I mean, we've been within this rising channel here since for quite a while, since around the 25th of June. We were continuing to move higher, but then last week we saw this decline, sharp, strong sell-off where the index closed outside of this rising channel. But as you can see from yesterday's activity, Friday's activity, we can see that it moved back up here, but then on Friday tested the lower bound of the rising channel. So now, if judging by this, I mean, we could expect probably this one to continue pushing higher as it got back into this rising channel. So the trend is kind of still, the short-term trend is back up again, and we could see maybe, like I said, a move back up here towards this 77.50 area, approximately there. This could be a very good potential area of resistance initially, but if that doesn't hold, it could lead towards all the way towards this next potential area of resistance around 77.95, or even actually the 7800, and just slightly above that we do have the upper bound of the rising channel. So if, let's say, to kind of mark it with some arrows here, basically a scenario could be this, so where we could see another potential maybe test of this lower bound and then a move higher. So certainly keep an eye on the yesterday's high. If we get a break above the yesterday's high, which was approximately around the 76.82 mark, something like that, and so keep an eye on it. If we do get a nice break above it, then yep, this could open the path towards this next potential area of resistance at around 77.50. Now, if we put a 4-hour chart on this one, and this is how you could eventually position yourselves for a possible trade here. So if you, let's say, enter a position just slightly above or just on top of the well, around in yesterday's high, and then you could aim for the level right here that I was talking about, the 77.50, or maybe just slightly below that, a few points below that, and then of course have your stop loss in place. But with the stop loss, you could place your stop loss somewhere around these lows that we saw here yesterday, so approximately around the 76.36 mark. Now, this could give you a 1-to-5 risk-reward ratio. Certainly, I mean, some of you maybe find it maybe not enough, but nevertheless, this you be the judge. You could, of course, raise your stop loss just a little bit here, and then yeah, you could then kind of, like I said, position yourselves this way for a possible trade. Of course, like I said, it's very important, guys, to keep your stop losses in place. Do not forget to put those on. Let's jump into one commodity that I really wanted to show you, and that's WTI. So with the WTI also at a tricky spot, we're stuck here below this long-term upside trend line here that has been running since around August, the end of August 2017. We're stuck here, but we're also stuck in this little range here between these key levels that I've got highlighted here. So the on the downside is the 67.15, and on the upper side is the 70.15. So approximately around the 300 point range here. So certainly, guys, keep an eye on it. Keep an eye on this area. If we do get a break here through the upper side here, well, to be honest, this wouldn't be enough for us to become more bullish on this one, because we would need to see not only a break and a close above this 70.15 level, but also above this upside trend line here. Now, if we do get a nice break and a close above this line, then, well, this could be a good indication that the commodity does not want to move lower anymore. It could continue pushing higher. So as you can see, we in the past here recently, I mean, we did have some breakthroughs, breaks above the trend line, but the kind of the commodity never closed above it. So this is what we're looking for here. We're looking for a nice good break and a close, especially a close above this upside trend line here. On the downside, well, we would need to see a nice good move here below this 67.15 level in order to kind of position ourselves for lower levels, and this is where we could then target the 64.25 mark, which, as you can see here in the past, in June, in the first half of June, that was a very nice, good, strong area of support. And also at this, if WTI would drop here and touch this 64.25, it will also touch the 200 EMA that we've got here running on the daily chart. So there are some good levels to watch here, guys, certainly, but for now we're going to stay probably more neutral. But nevertheless, it still is interesting to see which way is it going to pop. Is it going to pop to the upside, or is it going to break to the downside? Let's have a look at a few pairs now, and the first one I want to touch on is the euro dollar. So yesterday we had a bit of a decline here, but then the bulls managed to fight back. Let's jump into a 4-hour chart here. Still, we are not far from this key area of support here, this lower side of the range that I keep talking about in my videos where I'm discussing the euro dollar. So basically, at the moment, we're still looking for a possible touch of the 115-100. We're not far from it. Certainly, we're seeing a bit of retracement right now kicking in, and it could potentially lead to a test of this key area here at around 115.75. Now, guys, keep an eye on this area, because this will also coincide with this 21 EMA here. Now, certainly, because the overall trend is still to the downside, we could see a possible let me just draw some crazy arrows here a little bit, and there we go. We could see a possible scenario like this, where we could see a rejection, and then we could see a move lower. Certainly, of course, let's not get ahead of ourselves too much, and let's see if it actually gets rejected here or not. And if it does, then yep, we could aim for the 115-100 level. And especially because let's say if this moves lower again and starts testing the yesterday's lows, this is where it could become interesting, and like I said, we could see maybe a breakthrough and finally a test of the 115-100. But that's what's in regard to the downside. On the upside, as you probably are aware, I mean, and probably understood the idea here, we need to see a nice good break in above this 115.75 in order to kind of aim for higher levels. The first one to watch could be this one, the 116.200, and then slightly above that we do have the 116.50. So but to be honest, this level probably now becomes a bit irrelevant. We'll have to just reevaluate the pair once, let's say, if it gets here towards this 116.200. But we're gonna only let's say we're gonna only consider that level if we do get a nice break and a close here above this 115.75. So for now, the trend is still to the downside, so let's keep an eye on this 115.75. If we do get a rejection here and then we see the pair moving lower, this could continue all the way down towards the 115.100. That's what's in regards to the euro dollar. Let's jump into GBP Cad now. For the GBP Cad, I was covering this one last week especially, and I was talking about this key important area here at around 170.55 mark. Now, as you can see, on the 2nd of August, which was Thursday last week, so yeah, we broke it nicely. We've closed strong with a strong bearish candle, and we took out, and then on Friday we took out another good area of support here at around 169.25, and now it seems that it wants to continue pushing lower. Now the next potential area of support here could be this 167.60, so keep an eye on it, because that was the low here that we had around the 5th of January this year. Now this is where we could see maybe a bit of a confusion here from the bears. Maybe the bulls could start kicking in. Bulls could start maybe trying to push this pair back up. Certainly keep an eye on it, because if we do get a rejection here, if we do get a rejection around the 167.60, then well, keep a close eye on this one. On this downside resistance line here, which is running here since around the 22nd of June. If we get a rejection around the 167.60, well, we could maybe see a possible scenario like this, where we could maybe see a move back up here towards this level first, the 169.25, and then of course a possible touch of the downwards moving resistance line. So for now, keep a close eye on it. Let's see if it wants to actually make a move towards the 167.60, and if it doesn't break here, then we could see a bit of correction here back to the upside. And one last pair that I really wanted to touch on, and that's going to be USDJPY. So USDJPY continues to hold above its this support line here that has been running here since around the 29th of May. Now, certainly somebody could say maybe this is a bit of a tentative one, because the bigger one here to watch maybe could be this one, the slightly like a more medium term one, which has been running since around the 26th of March. And certainly, of course, if we connect these lows, but to be honest, we're kind of missing out these lows here as well, and this one becomes a tentative one as well. So for now, probably we're gonna stick to this shorter term upside trend line here that has been running here since around the 29th of May, and we're gonna see what he wants to do with it, because at the moment, as you can see, there is a bit of yen buying here against the dollar, and it could potentially lead to a test of this upside trend line, and then of course we'll have to just evaluate from there. But for us to, let's say, to become more bearish on this one, we would need to see not only a break below this upside trend line, but also a break below this 110.60 level. Now, this is where it could become more interesting for the bears, as they could see maybe this could open the path for them towards lower levels, and a good one to watch here could be this 109.40. Let me just kind of round it up a little bit here. And this could be the next potential area of support if we get a break here below the 110.60. So keep an eye on this level, but of course, even before we start considering this level, we need to see a good break here below this upside trend line. And if this trend line continues to hold, well, keep a close eye on this 111.40. Certainly, as you can see, this pair really likes this level, and we can see this this pair kind of hanging around constantly around this 111.40. But let's say for us to become more bullish on this one, we would need to see a nice good move. Let me just get rid of this level. This becomes a bit irrelevant. We would need to see a nice rejection here from this upside trend line, and then a move higher. Of course, a move higher above the 111.40, which could open the path towards this area here, this high that we saw here on the 1st of August, and that's around the 112.15. Now, if we do get a nice break here above this level, this could open the path towards these highs that we saw around the 18th and 19th of July. I do apologize. Yeah. So that could be around the 112.15 1.95 or even actually the 113 mark. So just keep an eye on this area, guys. I mean, this is a bit of a tricky one, of course. At the moment, it seems that it wants to become bearish, but still it's kind of holding on to this upside trend line. But to be honest, if it moves lower, let's see what it wants to do with it. If it bounces nicely and moves back up here, and especially back above the 111.40, keep an eye on it. This, like I said, this could continue pushing higher. Okay, guys, I hope you found it useful. Thank you very much for watching and listening. And if you want to join me later on in my Trader's Tea Time, and that's 13:15 GMT, 14:15 British Summer Time. But for now, thank you very much, and bye-bye.